The year was 2847 when Earth received the message that changed everything. Ambassador Wei stood before the Galactic Council, surrounded by representatives from over 10,000 species. The chamber stretched for miles, filled with beings of every shape and form. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others breathed through special masks. Many looked at the human delegation with cold eyes and colder hearts. High Chancellor, a creature with 6 arms and skin like polished metal, read the verdict. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. Earth was hereby expelled from the Galactic Union. Humanity was stripped of all rights to trade, travel, and communicate with member worlds. The vote had been nearly unanimous. Only 3 species had voted in humanity's favor. The charges were many. Humans bred too quickly. They consumed too many resources. They asked too many questions. They refused to accept their place in the natural order. They had been members of the Union for only 200 years, yet they acted as if they owned the stars. Most importantly, they were dangerous. Their history was written in blood and war. The galaxy had decided it wanted no part of such a violent species. Ambassador listened to every word. Her face showed nothing. When finished speaking, the chamber fell silent. Everyone expected the humans to beg. They expected tears and promises to change. They expected humanity to fall on its knees and plead for mercy. Instead, Wei smiled. She turned to her delegation and nodded once. Then she looked back at the council and spoke in a voice as calm as still water. She thanked the council for their decision. She said humanity accepted the verdict without protest. Then she said something that made the entire chamber go cold with shock. She said humanity would leave. Not just leave the council, but leave the known galaxy entirely. Humans would pack their things, gather their colonies, and disappear into the void beyond map space. They would never return. They would never ask for help. They would never look back. The council members laughed. They thought it was a joke. The void beyond mapped space was death. No civilization had ever survived there. The distances were too great. The dangers were too many. The resources were too few. Humanity would crawl back within a decade, broken and begging. Wei did not argue. She simply bowed and walked away. Her delegation followed. The doors closed behind them with a sound like the end of an era. Within 5 years, every human was gone. They dismantled their colonies piece by piece. They loaded everything onto massive ships that they had been secretly building for decades. It turned out humanity had seen this day coming long before it arrived. They had prepared. They had planned. They had never truly trusted the galaxy that looked down on them. The last human ship to leave carried a message buoy. It activated after the ship vanished into the void. The message was simple. It said goodbye. It said humanity wished the galaxy well. It said they would not return, no matter what happened. Then the buoy self-destructed. The galaxy celebrated at first. The troublesome species was gone. Trade routes that humans had controlled opened up to others. Technologies that humans had developed were seized and everyone benefited from humanity's departure, or so they thought. 20 years passed, then 30, then 50. The galaxy began to notice something strange. Problems that humans used to solve were no longer being solved. Diseases that human doctors had contained began spreading again. Mathematical equations that human scientists had cracked remained unsolved by others. Engineering challenges that humans had overcome proved impossible for the remaining species. The Galactic Union had expelled its most creative problem solvers. They had thrown away the one species that never gave up, never accepted impossible, never stopped asking why. But life continued. The galaxy adapted. New alliances formed. Old enemies made peace. 100 years after humanity left, most young aliens did not even know what a human looked like. Humanity became a story told to children. The strange, violent, brilliant species that had walked into the void and vanished. Then the darkness came. It started at the edge of known space. Entire star systems went silent. Ships sent to investigate never returned. Planets that had existed for billions of years simply vanished. Something was eating the galaxy, and no one knew what it was. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Scientists presented their findings. The darkness was a force unlike anything ever recorded. It consumed matter, energy, and even light itself. It was growing. It was hungry, and it was coming for everyone. Weapons were useless against it. Shields failed within seconds. The fastest ships could not outrun it. Species that had existed since the beginning of recorded history disappeared in days. The galaxy was dying, and there was nothing anyone could do. In desperation, the Council made a decision. They would find the humans. They would beg them to return. They would promise anything. Surely humanity had died in the void long ago, but perhaps some survivors remained. Perhaps they had found a way to live. Perhaps they could help. A fleet of the fastest ships was assembled. They carried diplomats, scientists, and soldiers. They flew into the void beyond mapped space, following the ancient path the humans had taken. They expected to find debris. They expected to find death. They expected to find nothing at all. What they found instead broke their minds. Humanity had not died. Humanity had thrived. In just 150 years, they had built an empire that made the Galactic Union look like a village. Their cities stretched across dimensions. Their ships traveled faster than thought. Their technology was so advanced that it appeared to be magic. The void had not killed humanity. It had freed them. Without the Union's restrictions, without the Council's rules, without the galaxy's contempt, humans had evolved beyond imagination. They had faced the harshest conditions in the universe and conquered them all. The galactic fleet was met by a single human child. She floated in space without a suit, breathing nothing, fearing nothing. She looked at the alien ships with curiosity. She had never seen such primitive technology before. The diplomats delivered their message. The galaxy was dying. The darkness was coming. Only humanity could save them. Would they please return and help? The child listened. Then she laughed. It was not a cruel laugh. It was the laugh of someone hearing an old joke they had forgotten. She said she would take the message to her elders. She told the aliens to wait. Days passed. The fleet waited. Then a door opened in space itself, and through it stepped an old woman. Her eyes held the light of 1,000 stars. Her skin glowed with energy that the aliens could not identify. She looked at the ships and smiled sadly. She was Ambassador Wei. She had been young when humanity left. Now she was ancient beyond counting, kept alive by technology the galaxy could not begin to understand. She remembered everything. She remembered the insults. She remembered the laughter. She remembered walking away while the galaxy mocked her species. She asked what the aliens wanted. The diplomats repeated their message. The darkness was coming. Everyone would die, please help. Wei was silent for a long time. Then she asked a simple question. Why should humanity care? The galaxy had expelled Earth. The galaxy had called humans dangerous and violent. The galaxy had wanted them gone. Now the galaxy was getting what it deserved. The diplomats had no answer. They could only bow their heads in shame. But Wei was not finished. She said humanity had changed. The void had taught them many things. It had taught them patience. It had taught them forgiveness. It had taught them that revenge was meaningless. Most importantly, it had taught them that they were not like the galaxy that had rejected them. Humans would help, not because the galaxy deserved it, not because they wanted something in return, but because helping was who they had become. They could not watch trillions die and do nothing. That was not the human way. Within hours, human ships appeared throughout known space. They were vessels of light and impossible geometry. They carried weapons that rewrote the laws of physics. They moved with purpose and precision that left the galaxy speechless. The darkness met the humans at the edge of a dying star system. The battle lasted 3 days. No alien could understand what they were seeing. Reality itself seemed to bend and break. Energies beyond measurement clashed against the void. When it was over, the darkness was gone. Not destroyed, the humans explained, but sent away, pushed into a dimension where it could harm no one. The galaxy was saved. The Galactic Council gathered once more. They prepared speeches of gratitude. They drafted new laws welcoming humanity back. They planned celebrations that would last for centuries. But when they looked for the humans, they were gone. Every ship had vanished. Every soldier had disappeared. They had come, saved everyone, and left without a word. Only one thing remained. A message buoy floating where the human fleet had gathered. Its recording was short. Wei's voice spoke one final time. She said humanity had kept its promise. They had never truly returned. They had visited, done what needed to be done, and walked away again. The galaxy could continue on its own now. The darkness would not return for 10,000 years. By then, perhaps the galaxy would be ready to face it alone. The buoy paused. Then Wei's voice softened. She said humanity did not hate the galaxy anymore. They had moved beyond such small feelings. She hoped the galaxy would learn from what had happened. She hoped they would treat the next young species better than they had treated humanity. Then the buoy went silent, and this time there was no self-destruct. It remained floating in space as a reminder, a monument to the species that had been thrown away and came back to save everyone. A species that had walked into the void without looking back and emerged as something greater than anyone could have imagined. The galaxy rebuilt. New generations were born. The story of humanity became legend, then myth, then something close to religion. Every species taught their children about the humans, about the dangerous, violent, brilliant beings who had forgiven an unforgivable wrong, about the small blue planet that had produced the saviors of the galaxy. And somewhere beyond the void, humanity continued. They explored new dimensions. They discovered new forms of existence. They grew and changed and evolved into something the old galaxy would never recognize. But they never forgot where they came from. They never forgot the little planet called Earth. And though they would never return, they always kept one eye on the galaxy they had left behind, just in case it needed saving again. Because that was what humans did. They helped, they saved, they forgave. No matter how badly they had been treated, no matter how much they had been hurt, when the universe needed heroes, humanity answered. They always had, they always would, even when no one was looking, even when no one would ever know. That was the human way, and the stars themselves remembered.